I feel like this is a little bit long overdue with me being a Scream fan and whatnot, but here we go. Now, I was a little bit worried about, I wouldn't say worried, but I guess slightly concerned. So as I talked about before, the first three movies got between 160 and 173 million at the box office. The fourth one only got 98 million. 11 years later, this one comes out and it goes up to 139 million. So, okay, they brought it back a little bit. And the sixth one got up to 169 million. So that was good. I think the franchise is safe for a bit because, I mean, honestly, I think after the fourth movie came out, for as amazing as I thought it was, I give it a 10 out of 10. I questioned at one point if it was going to be the last one. But here we go. 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, a new killer dons the ghost face mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. Now, here are the ratings on it. Rotten Tomatoes, 76. Google users, 68. Common Sense Media, 60. Internet Movie Database, 63. So as I stated, I feel that it was a little bit underrated, but not quite as underrated as Scream 4. For example, on my Paramount Plus, and I don't know if it's because of the deal that I have with it, or the plan that I got with it. The fourth movie is the only one that's not available on my Paramount Plus. I don't know why that is, but doesn't matter to me much. I just bought all the movies on YouTube. I'm a Scream fan. I'll buy the movies. And I will be buying the seventh one whenever it comes out and whenever it gets released digitally. So, here's how Common Sense Media breaks down some of the themes, messages, whatnot. Positive messages. Somewhat unexpectedly, primary takeaway is that glorifying violence only brings about more violence. In earlier movies, Gail gained fame by publishing books about the murders. Here, she decides to keep the story to herself and let it die on its own without inspiring any more copycats. Sidney Prescott is a pretty decent role model for a horror hero. She's more than a traditional final girl. She's a true survivor, tough with sharp instincts, but she hasn't closed herself off either. Still has room in her heart for her kids and friends. She does rely a little too heavily on firearms. Gail has overcome her earlier backstabbing ways to become an admirable, powerful person. Now, that is true. If you look at Gail in this movie and compare her to the first two movies, she is much, much better in this one. Much better. Grew a lot as a person. Now, also, this movie is what Jasmin Savoy's character, Mindy, referred to as a requel. So, of course, we know what the Stab movies are. The Stab movies are basically movies within movies that replicate and parody the Scream films. And so when they talk about Stab, they're really just talking about themselves. Now, before I go into what that is, let's also keep in mind that I talked about in another video how Melissa Barrera talked about diversity within the franchise. You know, when it first came out, it was mostly white cast. You had a few minor black characters. But in here, the original characters returned, Sidney, Gale, Dewey. And now you have this new cast of characters. Also, Judy Hicks returned, who was an officer in Scream 4. You have a new cast of characters. Sam, Tara, Mindy, Chad, Liv, Amber, Richie, Wes. And Mindy's character referred to this as a requel, which basically means that this is not quite a reboot, not quite a sequel, but something that's kind of a mixture of the two. There are many things that you would see in Scream 5 that actually match up and are parallel to the things that you saw in the original film. For example, the third act took place in Stu Macher's house in the first film. And also the third act in this movie takes place in Stu Macher's house. Now, I'm going to spoil it a little bit here, but not give too many spoilers. So Dewey had a set of rules in here that are similar to some of Randy's rules from the original. Randy's rules were don't have sex, don't say you'll be right back because, you'll never be back. Don't drink beer, don't do drugs, stuff like that. Now, Dewey had 3 rules in this movie. He said there are certain rules to surviving a Stab movie. Number 1, never trust a love interest. And that's in reference to the first movie where Sidney's love interest, Billy Loomis, turned out to be the killer, or at least the main killer. He was the mastermind behind it all. He raped and killed Sydney's mother, Maureen Prescott. The second, and also this goes with the fact that Sam's boyfriend in this movie, Richie, was one of the killers. Number two, the killer's motive always has something to do with something from the past. It's always connected to the past. Now, that was also demonstrated in this movie because the killer, not Richie, but the other one, killed a guy by the name of Vince. Vince turned out to be the son of Leslie Mocker. Leslie Mocker is the sister of Stu Mocker. So, killing the nephew of one of the original killers, there's that. And then also another thing that connects to the past is the fact that we find out that Sam is the biological and illegitimate daughter of original killer Billy Loomis. Billy Loomis, who Sydney dated. Now, Sydney is not Sam's mother, so just anybody who didn't see this movie don't think that that's not that. Sam and Tara's mother is named Christina Carpenter, who is unseen. We don't know if she's ever going to make an appearance in any future movies. I've talked about that in another video, and I'll go more into depth of that to another one. And then the third rule that Dewey stated was the first victim has a friend group that the killer is a part of. And turns out that was also true. The first victim in the movie was Tara, played by Jenna Ortega. So Tara was attacked by the killer and hospitalized. And as I stated in another video, she was also the first victim to survive. Now, the friend group, Liv, West, Richie, Amber, that whole group, Mindy, Chad. Turns out you have Richie, as I stated, is one of the killers. And then the other killer is in that group, which I won't say at this very moment, but I will talk about that in another video. So all those rules that Dewey laid out, it turns out that those things were true. And as a result, I mean, some of them did have consequence. Hey, don't trust this love interest. Overall, I think that as I've given the other movies, the first movie I would give at least a 9.5. The second one I would give a 10. The third one I give an 8. The fourth one a 10. The fifth one I'll give about a 9 or a 9.5. For sure, at least a 9. I felt that there are some things about it that could have been a little bit better, but overall, I don't think it was rushed because, I mean, the movie came out 11 years after its prequel. So, I mean, anybody who thinks that, oh, it was rushed or is put to... No, I don't think that. I think it was just fine right where it's at. Again, available to watch on Paramount Plus. This is a really good slasher, horror, thriller, drama, suspense, mystery film. New cast, Jasmin, Savoy, and Mason Gooding, who played Mindy and Chad. Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera as Tara and Sam. Mikey Madison as Ammar. Dylan Minnette, who I saw at SVU, who played Wes in this movie. And Sonia Ammar, who played Liv. Kyle Gallner, who I saw also in SVU and also was in the movie Smile, who played Vince in this one. And then, of course, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette return as Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. Judy Hicks I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. I don't know why I'm drawing the blank on the name. But Judy Hicks is back. I'm sorry, I have to cheat right now. Why is this happening to me right now? This is not a good time. Unbelievable. Marley Shelton. I'm sorry about that, people. I'm sorry. So, other than that, check this movie out if you have not seen it. I think it's really good. Scream 5. I give it a 9 out of 10.